Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We're keeping calm, we're staying local, and we are very, very Baltimore positive and hoping we get back to normalcy at some point. This guy's been a supporter of ours for going on a decade and a half. I've had more crab cakes in his place. I've had more crab cakes in his place, but I haven't had like everything on the menu. I always kid him about that. Chris Richards joining us here from Greenmount Station up in Hampstea. We've had many nights there. Man, when I left you, right, we were going to win the Super Bowl. Sam Cooke was driving out in 6 inches of snow, right? We had an amazing night there amidst a little bit of chaos with weather. And it wasn't that long ago, man. It was like 6-7 weeks ago, right? Wow, has the world changed? First off, how are you? How's your family? How are your employees? How are your crab cakes? I hear the phone ringing behind you, so things can't be too bad. How you doing, man?
Good. Thanks, Nestor. Good to talk to you.
Well, I know this has been devastating on so many people. I live in the city. I haven't driven out to Hampstead recently. I know everyone's home. Kids are home. Families are home. Lots of people up there live up there and work down here but are working from there. This has created an interesting amount of chaos, I think, over the last couple of weeks. And certainly for anyone like yourself, and this has been a theme that I've had, Chris, you didn't build your business without adversity, right? Like Greenmount Station didn't come easy, and the parlor next door, and doing shows and feeding people and all the things we've been. I've seen you've expanded your business over years that I've known you. This is a new challenge put before all of us, right, to test all of us.
It absolutely is. And I'll tell you, I thought with it being going into a slow time through this period that it would be easier to run. It's actually been a more difficult, more crazy time to run a business than ever because, you've got to find out which employees you have that are willing to work through this situation and which ones don't want to work. And then you've got different hours, not to mention that, we're going from a business model of where probably 80 to 90% of our business was in the restaurant, like dining and bar, and only 10 to 20% was carryout. Now it's 100% of the business is carryout. So it's just been crazy. That's a good word, chaos, crazy.
Well, I think for every business owner who's had a challenge or said, all right, here's the new situation. Chris, I don't know your situation in the beginning, but I could tell you mine, and I haven't told anybody this. I had a ponytail, I had a briefcase, I had a Jeep with no top on it, and I gave myself a name, Nasty Nestor, and I drove up and down Ritchie Highway and Bel Air Road and said, I'm doing this crazy radio show in the afternoon. Will you give me $50 and a free pepperoni pizza? That's how my business started. So there was no strategy. There was no playbook. There was, oh my God, this went wrong. There was more, oh my God, I have an opportunity to talk about sports for a living, and it's 1992, and I have a chance to do this, and I've built this thing 30 years later that I can't complain about chaos at any point because I've had it in all sorts of ways, and you've been privy to that at all points in my wife's battles and different things that happen and employees and comings and goings and all of that. But this is one of those ones, there's no playbook for it. But for any of us who have been in business and have ever built a business from nothing, this is just like sort of being in a TV show where they hand you a script and say, here's the new Chopped episode. Here are the ingredients. Go make something out of it. I think that's for everyone in society right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, it's neat because I think when this is over, I think we're going to be better for it. I think that we're going to have different things, different processes and procedures in place that are going to make us actually better and a stronger business because of it. So I look at it as an opportunity. It's not ideal what we'd want to go through, but we got to take the opportunity to make ourselves better and make everything safer. And I think it's a good thing in that way.
Well, look, you always wanted your food to be safe, right? I mean, you're not serving a bad crab cake. You're always monitoring. I mean, you have seafood in your place. You have spoilage like every, good restaurateur who's working in a scratch kitchen, right? This part of safety and all of that stuff, what have you learned the last couple of weeks? I mean, I'll just ask you, a guy that's been doing this for a quarter of a century. Clearly, the red tape part of staying open and serving beer to go and drinks to go and food to go and French fries probably don't travel as well in a all of these different things, right? But just on a safety perspective, and when someone calls and gets a crab cake at your place right now, which I'm dying to have, by the way, just some thoughts about how it's changed your world and the eating world in general.
Well, I'll tell you, when we first started, before we had the closing of the dining rooms, we were taking everything off the table. So no salt, peppers, or ketchup, mustard, any of the condiments. Everything communal was taken off. We were just upping our game with the sanitation of all the tables, disinfecting. We're hitting, the doors where you're coming into the restaurant. We're hitting bathroom doors, everything that, we would clean before, but now it's like, we're on like an hourly thing now. We're going around and making sure anything that's getting touched on a regular basis throughout the day is getting cleaned at a much greater time interval.
Do you know what? You know a place that's like that, and it just reminds me. I was in Japan. We moved the show back in December, and I think I talked about it when I came in afterward with you. And Japan's like that, and they've not had a horrific outbreak with the coronavirus. There is a cleanliness about their society. My wife and I said every single place you go is like Disney World, and I think we'd always like for all of our places to be that way. And we had some training wheels for this, right? Like, I've told this story a couple times over the last couple weeks, but when my wife was diagnosed 6 years ago last week, I didn't know about gloves and masks and bacteria and viruses and, even things in cheese that could have killed her at various points when she was neutropenic. I had to learn all of that. All of society is now learning about that. And I was always the guy in any restaurant that would say, this table's not wiped down the way I need it wiped down for my wife, who has an immune system issue, who I don't want in bed next week sick. So I think for every restaurant, that's now up their game. But this sort of carry out, dine out, ordering food, crab cakes, all of that, give me a little insight into if somebody's up in Hampstead tonight and they don't want to cook and they want to drop by and they want to support you because they love you and they love me and they love what we've done together and they missed the bowling alley next door or whatever it is, to come out and get a little food tonight. Give me a procedure for how you've done it at Greenmount Station up in Hampstead.
Sure. So we still have the full menu. We still do specials. Sometimes we have family meal deals, so you always got to look for that. We had a crab cake deal over the weekend that we sold well over 100 of them between Friday and Saturday.
I missed it.
Yeah. So basically, you just call and then we're accommodating. So some people don't mind coming into the carryout. They actually want to because they miss some of the employees and staff here and they want to say hi. Some people, for whatever reason, maybe they have an immune system issue or feel compromised or just don't feel safe. All they have to do is let us know that they're going to do curbside. When they get here, we have staff members that are watching. When somebody pulls up, we go out, we find out which order they are, and we take care of it for you, so you don't have to get out of the car. And like I said, it's all preference, personal preference, whatever the customer feels best with. And honestly, what we've been doing on the weekends when we have higher volume, we have 3 separate areas of the restaurant. We actually have the bar, the carryout, and the OTB, and we have cashiers and basically carryout teams at all 3 locations so they can come in 3 separate doors. That makes sure that we keep our social distancing, the 6 feet. That way not everybody's piled into one area. You have lots of space to separate, and that seems to have worked out the best so far.
Well, if you want to visit with our friends, Chris Richards is joining us here from Greenmount Station. You can find them at Greenmount Station MD. If you live in Hampstead, if you live anywhere up in Manchester, anywhere in that part of the world, is our dear friend J.R. Richardson and Carl Delmont. So many of our friends live up that way. Bill Bolander is up that way. Stop by, visit our friends. This is an interesting time to take stock, right, Chris? I mean, even with my political bents, the love, the hate, the comments, the take care of your wife, all of that stuff comes at me. I'm not selling crab cakes. You don't have to get in the car and come out and put a mask on and meet me on curbside to find my business. Obviously I'm out here and helping promote your business and trying to keep the businesses that have kept me alive for 30 years alive during all of this. But I would just say this, for a guy like you and a business like yours and the faces that I've seen over going on 20 years inside of your place, I would think this has been emotional for you on many, many levels in having to redo all of this. But when a familiar face pulls up in this time of crisis and puts $80 in the pocket of you and your family and your employees, and they think enough of your food or your crab cakes or your ribs or whatever they want, or your staff to order something, there is something very, I would say, Christmas-like or holiday-like or family-like or different about this period of time that I can only equate to like when my wife had cancer and how we were treated and received, or after 9/11, or after the day you get married, when everybody in your life sort of circles you in some way. Everyone's trying to circle each other right now and sort of look out for each other. And I know Hampstead to be that kind of community, man. And I would think you're feeling that in a way right now that you could only feel if something horrific happened to you or your family, sort of that grieving process of, we want to be supportive, we're in this together, and this has uniquely done that, I think, to all of us in some way. But I would think for your business specifically, even more so, where you are, that no one walks to your place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, you're right. I mean, I didn't really think about it until at the end of the weekend because it's just been chaotic.
Well, you're thinking, I'm going to do all this. Who's going to come and order a burger tonight, right? I mean, because that's why you're doing it, right?
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, we had so many people come in, and I made a point to, and again, I was in the kitchen for most of the weekend, but every time I came out, I made a point to thank people for their support and patience and coming out. And, every single one of them put it right back and said, thank you for being open. Thank you. And the other thing, too, I mean, it actually gives me, it makes the hair on my arm stand up. People are actually tipping almost to the same level, like the same percentage as what they were when they come into the restaurant. I mean, they are taking care of our staff like you wouldn't believe. And I mean, it's just unbelievable. I see some of these tips. I mean, there's people that'll drop off $100 bill. They'll put $50 tips on credit cards or $30. I mean, it's amazing the amount of money. I mean, and the staff, I mean, we've got a pretty big team of people doing carryout, and they're splitting the tips. And, I mean, they're I don't know, some of them are almost crying. They're almost in tears when people are dropping off, big money to as a tip for these orders. It's really been I don't know what the word is for it. Just really makes you feel good.
Well, that's why I had you on, because I knew your hair was on fire last week. A lot of my friends, a lot of our family, a lot of, my wife's got a cousin out in Chicago battling right now, and one of my dear friends, Bill Yerman, his daughter, was in the hospital last week and battling, and she wrote a blog that we've shared about her battle, and now, it's coming home, and we're trying to keep everybody safe. Everybody stay safe where you are, but no, you can order those delicious crab cakes. I say this all the time, and I mean this. If I got your crab cake, I would come home and fry it all up in a pan. You know how I would do it. So I would order it broiled to keep you happy, but I would bring it home and beat it all up.
I know. We'll argue about that until the day we die.
Well, I appreciate you. We had something up our sleeve for the spring that we had sort of organized with some Ravens that we were going to get out, and we didn't even get a chance to get out and do that. We had our Baltimore Positive stuff. We got an election in the city that I know that I'm a big part of, and trying to do some good deeds here. I'm glad that you are still up in Carroll County doing the good deeds you're doing. Stay open, stay safe, keep those crab cakes coming. I hope you sell 200 more this weekend up there, and hang in there. We're all in it together. If there's anything we can do down here to help you out, let us know. All right, Chris?
Thanks, Nestor. Stay safe and healthy.
Chris Richards up in Carroll County, one of our homestead places at Greenmount Station. We've been there hundreds of times, literally hundreds of crab cakes. I usually get 2, so if I've been there 100 times, I had 200 crab cakes, but more than that probably over the course of years. We had Sam Cook out there right back before the playoff game in a snowstorm. We've weathered snowstorms, 2 cancer battles, playoff games, losses, Super Bowl wins. We've done it all with Chris Richards and our friends up at Greenmount Station, and we hope that you support them. We hope you support all of our sponsors. I've had Keith Miller on from Strategic Factory. I'm trying to chase down Brett over at Pizza John's. So anybody sees Brett at Pizza John's, tell him I'm looking for him. But he's serving too many pizzas. He's too busy to come on. I saw Stash over there from 100.7, and I'm going to give him a hard time when I have him on as well. I've had Doug Workman on from Liberty Pure. I heard Larry Hogan talking about plumbing problems. If you have any plumbing problems, we got the problem solved for you. acleanwater.com. Doug was with us last week. And, of course, Royal Farms, real fresh, real fast. The coffee, the fried chicken, and the Western fries that I need to get back to at some point. Try cooking my own fried chicken here. It was an okay. We did an experiment. It wasn't Rofo, as Don Moeller pointed out. But I've been gassing up at Rofo, wearing gloves, wearing a mask. I got my mask right here on the set. Haven't taken my mask out too often, but I do. This is one of the leftovers from my wife's cancer battle. So big thanks to everybody up in Hampstead, Carroll County that have always supported us. Please go support Greenmount Station, MD, and order some crab cakes and read Chris's letter up on the front of GreenmountStationMD.com. I am Nestor. We are keeping calm. There's nothing more local than our sponsors who've kept us in business for 30 years. Thank you to all of them, and we're staying Baltimore positive. Stay with us.